Welcome to Construction Champions Podcast, where we are burning the house down and rebuilding it twice a week. I'm your host, Rod Nussbaum, and I am here to help you become the champion that you're meant to be. Along with our amazing guests along the way, we will provide you with the resources, the latest and greatest. You will sit down with disruptors in the construction industry. And my goal from day one has always been to change the mindset around the construction industry. No more where we let the 3% of bad apes dictate the entire reputation of. Welcome back, Construction Champions, to another amazing episode. I'm your host, Ron Nussbaum, and wherever you're listening, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, Apple, the radio, because now we're on the radio. I keep having to say that because it blows my mind that we got picked up and you could be just cruising down the road listening to the radio and next thing Ron Nussbaum's on here. It's absolutely amazing. We come together, we bring absolute experts in here to get you where you need to go, to get you to become that champion. You don't just tune in for Ron Nussbaum. You probably don't tune in for me at all. I'm just a facilitator in all of this. What we do is we bring on amazing guests and then get you over the hump to where you need to go. And today is no different. Lynn, it is fantastic to have you here with us today.
Fantastic to be here, Ron. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Why don't you introduce yourself to all the construction champions listening out there today?
Sure. So I'm Lynn Wise, and I'm the CEO of a company called Contractor in Charge. And Contractor in Charge is a done-for-you service for the trades and the construction professionals that we have in our world that allows them to go focus on what they do best, which is deliver and sell the products and services that they work so hard to install, repair, replace on a daily basis. After being in the business for 15 years as a plumbing and heating and remodeling company, and then leaving it and going to the corporate world, I worked for IBM for 12 years, which, by the way, was one of the blessings in my journey because it allowed me to get outside my box and see what other industries and other companies, very large companies, do. I decided that in 2016, we would launch Contractor in Charge to do a done-for-you service for your front office and back office. Front office, we are very much focused on leads management, booking, sales, inside sales, providing that resource that's trained in this industry and can handle your customers with the same professionalism as well as empathy that you would as a business owner. The other side of my business, however, is accounting and finance and CFO services. So I have 20 degreed accountant and financial professionals who lead my team, and we work only in this space to provide proper financial statements, review the financial statements, as well as analysis of the financial statements for our clients. We have been in business since February 2016. We have about 180 clients, and we're right around 70 employees today. So it was one of those things that, I thought, well, I'll get a table, a comfort tech. And, oh, by the way, if nobody likes me, I guess I'll go away after I spend the $5,000. And here's what I believe is so true. I love the trades. I love the construction. It's where I started my professional career. And I say professional, I was a dispatcher out of high school, darn it. And so I learned the business. I learned the operations. I learned the field. And I fell in love with it. And honestly, I left it before I was ready, and I was grieved to get back to it in some form, some way. And this was my answer.
I love it.
That's my story.
I love it. I love the industry as well. It's what brings us together here to have this conversation today. So I'm going to dive right in there. I'm going to ask the $1 million question, and that is, what makes a construction champion?
You gotta love this industry and they have to be passionate for it to be successful.
Mm.
And that could be everything from a single process to a business strategy and plan. Sometimes it is the single process that is the most important thing that can turn the table. I also believe that a construction champion understands their customer and their communities, and they champion for the best service and deliverable that they can, because it's their legacy. So that to me is a construction champion.
Awesome. You have to have a passion for whatever you're doing. I think that's a really overlooked aspect of being a business owner, because it's not going to be easy. The passion is what's going to get that, not just the systems and the consistency and the discipline. That can all go away if you don't have passion for what you're actually doing. And I don't think we think about that enough as we're out building these companies. Am I really passionate about what I'm doing?
Well, Ron, I got to tell you, in all the years I've been in this, let's just face it, most of these small operators, mid-sized operators, started out with some guy that said, I know I can do this better. And they leave companies, they start small operations. Where they get overwhelmed is that they lose their passion because they get dragged into the black hole of business, right? And that's where I see contractor in charge being such an essential part of their journey, is that we've had the expertise to do these functions in the business. We don't do all of them, but we do a good majority of them. And we do them in such a way that allows you to stay passionate and stay focused on the customer. And that to me is one of the things that all small business owners suffer. It's not just our industry, it's all small businesses, right? Is that they get into the business, they love what they do, and then they lose their passion, or I'm going to say lose their way. I don't know if they lose their passion, they lose their way by getting distracted with this thing called business. So it's marketing, it's accounting and finance, it's operations, it's supplier management, it's purchasing, it's all of those things that, oh, by the way, you need and you must have. You got to have them, right? So I've seen too many of them that lose that glimmer and they want it back and they're looking for a peace of mind. And I feel that is part of where we are today in our world, is that now with the evolution of time, when I got in this business, this didn't exist. We didn't have businesses like mine that could come in and with a level of expertise handle functions in your business. Although I thought of it in 1989, I got to admit to you. And so now we have evolved where there are several companies like myself that can focus on the needs of the business, work in the business for you, but let you work on the business. And I believe that's one of the lessons that can be learned on how to future-proof your business. What should you do? What's your role and responsibility versus what is the role and responsibility of your sphere, your supporting advisors? So that I believe is a game changer.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times we don't look at, like, what are we good at? What do we love to do? And we end up falling, like, not everybody's built to be a CEO. Not everybody's built to be a COO. Like, there's different personality traits. There's different things that make people great at those. But we just assume this is the role I should have, instead of thinking, how do I benefit my business the best? Like, is me being in that role actually a benefit to the business, or am I better off having somebody else do this? Because I don't like it and I suck at it, quite frankly. Like, we don't ask ourselves those questions enough.
Well, no, because I think we feel like we're confined to what we've been taught and what society around us does it, our peers, for example. I always say that this industry is it's the worst when it comes to being a Pied Piper mentality. It's like, well, somebody else did it, so I can do it. So the answer is yes, but learn how to do it your way, right? So keep your destination in mind. Meaning, if your passion is the customer journey in your business and maintaining that quality of results and training the team to replicate what you're passionate about, or finding those that have the same passion that can replicate that, how much better can your business be than going, darn it, I lost $200 on that job? You need to know that. I mean, that's something you need to know, but the way that you need to know it and react to it may not be that you're the one doing it to find the $200. You might get that subject matter expert to help you define the key processes and goals of your business and help you have insight into that and learn how to trust those insights, and then learn how to manage that customer journey in that field that you manage on a daily basis that you so much love.
Yeah, that just makes 100% sense. And a lot of times when we focus in on that $200, that's why we lose the $200, is because we're so focused in on it, and like we're not getting the stuff done that we should be because we're doing something that's completely out of our skill set. And then next thing you know, we lost the $200, and it's like, well, what do I do from here?
I can't tell you the number of times I've actually had conversations with owners, and they'll say, I don't believe those reports are right. Why don't you believe the reports are right? And that's where they start digging in. And honestly, in most cases, the reports are not right because you had poor data input, which then says, okay, why are the reports not right? What's the root cause of the reports being wrong? And where I think that's where a business owner starts to refine, if you will, how they take ownership in those processes. And it's really more from, they got to have the right data, and having a subject matter expert helping them understand why the reports aren't right, and then fixing the process that caused the reports to be wrong in the first place. So it all comes back to my big, probably my superpower is always asking why. Why is that? And then if you answer that question, then why is that?
Mm-hmm.
Because you've got to get to the root cause. What's the root cause? And we spend too much time being chasing squirrels. That's what I'm going to call it. Chasing squirrels.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's also who we are. Now, what I will tell you, that I feel really complimented by, is that this industry that now we're part of, in the years that I've spent in it, is so much more educated, so much more business savvy, so much more aware of their customer, their markets, than they were when I first got in this business. Now, that being said, when I got into this business, it really had nothing to do with all of that other stuff. It was always about the customer, always about the customer. And I do feel that we have lost a big part of that. I feel like we focus many times more on our internal issues than on what our customer is looking to partner with us on, whether it's a service call or it's a complete remodel or a new addition to the house. And so, and customers know it. That's one reason I think we have kind of a sour taste in the consumer's mouth. So
How do we get that back? Because I agree with that. Is like, we are not. I watch too many people just, hey, customers will come and go. It is what it is, and we got projects lined up, and it's still your reputation. Projects might not always be lined up. I have my own theories on this, but you're in the weeds on this. Like, how do we get back to that, to where we don't have this sour taste in people's mouth?
I'm going to give you just a couple of things I've observed. I have asked so many times to clients, what are your goals? Ron, I never, ever, ever, never hear them say having the best customer experience that I can deliver to my customer. Never. They will say, growing my top line revenue, reducing my cost, adding more technicians or staff so I can get more projects. So it's all about the inward looking. And when we start rethinking and start looking outward and thinking about the customer, then I believe that changes our approach to our business on a daily basis, and it changes our culture. So that to me is the biggest thing I can tell you that I observe. And the thing that is my beacon. So we're going to go back when Lynn was 18 years old and joined the trades and became a dispatcher. The gentleman that I worked for was a master plumber, and we had a nice operation, had a showroom and things of that sort. And if there was one rule, the golden rule is that the customer was always right. Now, we could all argue that's not always true, right? But the customer was always right. If you ever wanted to get a scolding or you wanted to have a hard conversation with the owner, treat one of his customers wrong. And he'd help you define if it was right or wrong. But his rule was my customer's always right. They keep my lights on, they keep my doors open, they keep you paid. And I believe we have lost some of that. And I do think it's 2025. I think that the consumers are different than they were in 1980s. That's for sure. But they're still our customers. That's who pays our bills, right? So when we start thinking about that and we start thinking about outwardly versus inwardly, I believe that we will have a change in mindset. And I think we'll also have a change in how we brand. It is our brand, right? So those are just my observations.
I agree with that because like there's this inward look when people start thinking like I have to treat this as a business, and I am a component. Like you run a business. You don't run a construction business. You run a business first. Your service happens to be construction. So
Right.
you have to have your house in order as a business. But for some reason, people get this thought and it's more about the business than it is about the customer. But when I look at the biggest businesses in the world, not just construction, what do they focus on? Their customer experience, their product from the customer's perspective, their services. Everything they do has to do with the customer, not the business. Are they focused on having a functioning business? Absolutely, because they have to have that to survive. But every foot they put forward, every time they talk to the public, anything they do is directed at their customers.
Right.
It's not directed at everybody else. So they don't make huge decisions based on the internals of the business. They make huge decisions based on what are the customers doing, what do they want, and how can we deliver on that. And
Absolutely.
we confuse that in construction where we think we have to be all in on the business side of it. So the customer thing don't matter at all. But what really matters is just the business aspect is just having your house in order so you can serve that customer correctly. And then we need to focus on the customer.
So let me ask you a question. Why do you think that we are stuck here? How did we get here? I mean, again, I've got my own theories. I think it's called business coaches, but I think I really mean that. We were coached to run the business and we lost the customer. And we still coach to run the business instead of coach to how to have the best customer experience and journey for our customers that is part of our brands. I think that's where we lost it. And I think we're stuck and we got to find our way back.
Yeah, I think just like I was saying, like there's so much focus on the business side of things. And this is when having key players and people around you that can speak to the right stuff. Like
Mhm.
you have to know, like you run a business, but like the businesses that perform at the absolute elitist don't just focus on the business. It's actually a small percentage of what they focus on. And they have people within that business that is their sole job, is to watch out for the business aspect of things.
That's right.
And then you have the majority of the people that are focused just on the customers
Right.
and that relationship and the product and what are we actually delivering. I guess I see this from kind of not a different angle. It's just I deal with, so I created a piece of software that's for communication with clients. I built it out of my own need. It's where every piece of software failed me. So we speak to a very unique group of people in the construction industry. The people you're talking about that are focused on how do I deliver this experience to our customers. And I'm going to tell you, it's a lot smaller than I originally thought it was. Because I was like, it's such a need. Like we're failing at communicating with our customers. We think we're doing a great job, but what it is we just don't have the right software. So I built that software, and the people that want to fix that problem love us. But
Awesome.
there's a there's a group, but the majority of the group of people out there are just like, nah, that don't matter. Like they don't matter. Like whatever, we're just continue doing it how we're doing it. If I have some upset customers, I have some upset customers on the way. And I'm always like, that is such a bad mindset to have around this. Like that is not how you should be going about doing your business as a business. And I think I can see the shift happening. It's one of the reasons I started the podcast, was to change the mindset around construction and how we do this, and that we run businesses, but our customers are what keeps the lights on at those businesses.
So like,
Set.
well, you brought up software. So I want to tell you, I'm a co-founder of a new software too. It's an AI-driven CRM, and really what it's about is using AI first and human in the loop. Very important. Human in the loop. Whereas we are ingesting leads, engaging leads, managing leads on a personalized journey. So not every template fits every customer. And also we are managing the lifetime of the customer. So everything from unqualified to disqualified to loyalty, and managing that in a funnel format. We are coupled with an AI-driven marketing company now. This is kind of interesting. Don't know if anybody's talked about this, but the shift in the marketplace with AI search is huge, and we need to be paying attention to it. People are searching on Chat GPT. They're not searching on Google. They're asking Siri. They're asking Alexa. The world is changing around us. And so now's a great time. And I think of all times, kind of to shift back to this customer discussion, I believe that's going to be one of the empowerments that comes out of AI. The passion can absolutely swell to the top, and the customer can be king. And you can begin to, I should say king or queen, can begin to be your focus, the business owner's focus, and you can actually build that reputation and brand that is so deserving of what you really intended to do in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can attest to the Chat GPT thing, because I noticed this about 6 months ago with my wife, and I had to ask her about it. As I said, do you use Google or anything else anymore? And she's like, no, anytime I have a question, I just type it into Chat GPT, and it gives me such a better response than Google or any of these search engines ever have given me. And I was like, that's amazing. Like, because you start to see like the thought process shift is, when I originally introduced her to Chat GPT, she knew nothing about it. 6 months down the road, she's using it for any questions that she has. and just
To include to find her local nail salon if she wants to.
yeah, anything.
That's the point. And it has so much less friction than Google. So you Google whatever, new home remodel or remodel bathrooms, let's just example. Who's going to show? Everybody who paid for SEO, right? And paid for ranking. You put it in Chat GPT, it's going to search comments, reviews, the whole 9 things, and give you a whole different list than Google does. Potentially. Highly likely, by the way.
It's going to give you a lot more detailed information about what you're going to know instead of just like it's going to actually tell you criteria around what you want to know about these businesses.
That is right. And so, but again, coming back to where I think AI is going to really add value to businesses beyond, automation and reducing some costs and things like that. And I want everybody not to stay, get on this thing. It's going to replace people. Yes, it's going to replace processes and tasks that people do today and make them better and more concise and streamlined. People are not going away. I know enough about it to tell you now that people are not going to go away. Will you need less people in your organization? Will your partners like us use AI? Absolutely. And it's for good reason. But it allows you as the business owner to have a peace of mind to go work on the business, build that customer loyalty branding, be more innovative in how to put your business out into the marketplace instead of worrying whether or not your P&Ls are wrapped up and done on the 10th of the month.
I think it's going to make it a lot easier to get that data in there, and that data is what matters, especially with AI. You have businesses that are wanting to bring AI in, and it's like, well, what do you even have for it to work on? Like, your day is crap, or you're not entering anything.
Right.
And like, we need to get good at putting this stuff in, or not even good. It's just the processes have to be made easier. I think AI is going to help a lot with how we get that data into the actual databases that can decipher this.
I'll give you a real good example, and I'm sure everybody can relate to it because you've got systems that run your jobs and your field and your cost and things of that sort. One of the very first things we have to do in accounting, we have to clean up how operations is running. Otherwise, you just have bad data that goes in. So everything from setting an invoice up to giving a refund or a credit adjustment or taking a payment properly or deferring revenue or project pricing or whatever. First thing we do is just train on how you do that and do it right in the system that they prevail with, right? And we then have to go back, do the proper reset on data. And then now you've got clean data. But you don't want bad data in your financials. Financials are just the result of your operations. That's it. So you have to have good data in the operation systems in order to have financials give you the information about your business performance that you need to know on where the efficiencies and the gaps are and the trouble spots are. So, but that is where definitely AI is going to assist and make us more effective. And again, I'm going to say, give us time so we can focus on our customers.
Well, and also with some of these, because I don't like automations inherently because of like what you talked about earlier. It's just this template, whatever. But when you're moving to AI agents, that it's not this narrative, it's not these just cookie cutter things. It allows you to just be able to do what you're doing and know what's supposed to be happening is happening. The right stuff is happening. You're following through. The human error of sending the message or picking up the phone and do it like that, the stuff that we have errors as being humans, AI don't have those errors. If that message is supposed to go at a certain time or when a certain thing happens, it happens. And your customers see that.
Yeah, there is one area that I will highlight that I think we're all kind of focused in on right now, which is what's called conversational AI bots or voice AI bots. What I can tell you is that we did a pretty extensive testing last year on about 40,000 calls. And here's what I'll tell you. The technology works, people don't like it. And a lot of it that came out of that is that you got about a 30% loss rate on calls because people don't like it. And often what I hear is that people will say, "Oh man, it really sounds human." Yeah, but does it sound authentic? Right? Does it sound like it knows what it's talking about? And that is something that AI does not know how to do yet. It can't do that yet. It can ask a question with no emotion, but quite honestly, as somebody who's responding to it, you're thinking, okay, does that really matter? Does that question really matter? Does that really build trust? So that is a hurdle that we need to overcome. I don't see that so much in the digital world, meaning chats and texts and things like that. It's not as apparent, but when somebody makes a phone call to a business and they get a bot, they feel a little bit duped. Like, wait a minute, I called and I got a bot. I wasn't expecting that. So it isn't that it didn't sound human. It didn't meet expectations. And so we do have some coming there, but that will also get better. It just will. It's just the way things work, right? So that's kind of the 2 cents I have on some of this. And the other thing there is, if you can personalize that conversation and be more authentic with a robot, which we're trying to figure out how to do, FYI, then you're going to get a better reception to that from the consumer.
Yeah, I think you hit on a very important piece, the expectations. I was on a road trip a couple months ago, and I swung through the drive-through, something I typically don't do. And boom, bada bang, it was an AI agent taking my order. I could tell. Best experience I've ever had at a drive-through. Because my expectations are really low going in there. But I knew that order was going to be right, and they even tried to upsell me on something. And I was like,
Yes.
"This is unbelievable."
What
And
was it, a private business or was it a
no,
franchise?
it's a national franchise. I'll just
That's
don't say it. They
awesome.
won't care. Bojangles.
Wow. Wow. You're not a drive-through guy either? Neither am I.
Oh,
I go,
I'm not a fast food guy. Like I was on the road. I like chicken biscuits. I was like, I'm gonna pull in there. AI agent running the drive-through. And I was like, I knew when I pulled forward, I was like, my orders are gonna be right. Like I had no doubt in my mind that I was gonna get the right order. Sure enough, I'm out of there so much quicker. It was processing the cards so much faster. And to me, it was a great experience. But my expectations rolling in was, here we go. Another drive. Like it's just, you have low expectations. And then for me, that the AI bot, robot, whatever we're calling it, way over exceeded my expectations and got me out of there faster than a regular person would have. And like I said, even tried to upgrade me and sell me on an upsell. I was like, I almost bought it because I was like, this is the best experience I've ever had at a drive-through.
Yeah, but you go to Chick-fil-A, and if that was at Chick-fil-A, all the Chick-fil-A people would be like devastated because they love the people standing in line taking their orders. So I don't know.
I don't know if it can, what the capacity is on like, because they're doing
Oh, I think it's pretty.
multiple orders. That's why they have everybody standing out there at Chick-fil-A and everything, is to help manage that traffic. Uh,
Yeah,
it will get there, but
oh, I'm sure, but I'm talking about the consumer that goes there. They'd have to.
it's the expectations we're talking.
Yeah, it's the expectations. I expect to go to Chick-fil-A, be in one of 4 lines, and have somebody there taking my credit card. So yeah, it's the expectations and shifting the expectations. And by the way, that's part of what we have to do in our businesses is shift expectations, right? But I come back to why? Because we can now focus more on our customers. Focus more on our customers. So there's
You know, this was years ago. This is probably, oh, man, what? This is probably 5, 6 years ago for we called it an appointment center, but call center for our business. We were trying to figure out how to route calls the best.
uh-huh.
And we tested the experience by having options. Like when you called in, instead of speaking to somebody immediately, and man, people didn't like it. Like our best option was to have a live person answer the phone and direct the traffic. So we just hired somebody just to do that. Like we can't have our appointment setters just answering the phone. So we got to have somebody that just answers the phone because that's what the customers want. And what out of this, like it was a differentiator for us against other businesses that were going to that automated answering service.
Our stats on that last year might not be quite the same, but it's close. If you gave them an option to talk to a human, 81% of the time they talk to the human. So that just kind of tells you high expectations are, I want to talk to a human. So that's really important. But again, that comes back to your customer journey, right? And one might argue, and I would say this, that voice assisted bots have a role, but it may not be on every phone call. It might be for, I'll call it low priority or low urgent things, taking messages. That's a good example, right? Or getting information that is just genuinely repeatable messaging. But if it's a new lead and its tag is being a high value lead, no, you want it to go to a human. Simple as that.
I mean, I agree. I think
Yeah.
there's a place for all of it. We're figuring all of that out, but what has to be figured out first is what our original part of this discussion was. And that is, what is the customer experience? Are we doing things when we make these decisions around how AI is going to be in our business? Are we making it looking inwards, or are we making it looking outwards? And if you're only making it looking inwards, that's a mistake.
That's correct. That's just my professional opinion and, recommendation I have to my clients. Think about what you're doing. Think about why you're doing it. Who's it impacting? Does it impact the customer? If it does, be careful. Be careful.
Absolutely. I love it. This has been a fantastic conversation today. I mean,
Yeah, I've enjoyed it too. I hope it's not our last.
yeah, well, it probably won't be. But for all the champions out there listening, if they wanted to connect with you, learn more about what you do, where's the best places for them to do that?
Go to my website. It's contractorincharge.com, one word. My email is lynn@contractorincharge.com. Drop me a note, say, hey, I heard you on Ron's show and I want to learn more. I love to meet players and operators in this space, and we are always looking for a way to expand our knowledge and our community. So would love to hear from others.
Awesome. Well, thank you for taking the time and being on the show today.
Thank you, Ron. I really appreciate it as well.
Awesome. All right, construction champions, another episode in the bag. Well, we dove into something I'm very passionate about, and that's the customer experience, the customer journey. Why our businesses are functioning to begin with. It's the core principle behind our businesses. And everybody that listens, they know I'm a business guy. We run for-profit businesses. We don't run nonprofits. But how do you get there? Your customers. The business is the foundation to be able to serve your customers. It's the infrastructure to serve your customers, to deliver on the promises that you are making. The business is not an excuse to shortchange your customers. And I think we get in this mindset that business trumps all. But why I'm so passionate about people in the construction industry running businesses first is because I know if you have a solid foundation that you're operating out of, you're going to deliver a lot better customer experience along the way. That's why. It's not because I believe you have to have this business foundation to make money. I believe that business foundation allows you to serve your customers better, and in return allows you to make more money. I don't think I probably haven't been as clear as I should be on that, because I mean, we're all in business to chase our dreams. Like, we wouldn't be doing this if it didn't pay us money to go do it. But the people that exchange their money for our services are the ones that will create that for you. And you have to make decisions based on what outcomes for them to create. I kept thinking during this whole conversation, like Apple kept popping up in my head, because it's a company that is so focused on the customer experience, their products, their services, and they're one of the biggest companies in the world. One of the biggest businesses in the world, and everything they do evolves around how it's going to impact their customer. Think about that. So you can't tell me, oh, this is small business thinking. This is thinking from 1980s. The biggest businesses in the world right now are creating customer experiences, and that is why they're buying. Why do people buy Teslas? Not necessarily because they want an electric vehicle, because Tesla built an experience around owning and driving one. The same thing as Apple did with the iPhone, because they knew that's what their customers wanted. Their customers did not want just another phone. The customers did not just want another car. They wanted an experience that went with it. They wanted to do business with a company that they felt carefully true about their needs and what they wanted as a consumer. And the consumer money has showed that. When you go look at what these businesses do, same thing happens in construction. If we focus in on what that customer experience is, what are their needs, what are their desires, and we build a business around that, you can't fail. Unless you don't set up your foundation on the back end, because then you can't deliver on it. That's why having a business mindset matters, is because we need to deliver on what we're promising. So construction champions, until next time, be the champion you're meant to be.